Hi punters, welcome to the review show for the mailbag from 16th December, the Saturday meeting at Caulfield. No Dicko this week. He's had a big weekend up in Sydney celebrating Christmas with his family, so rightfully so. We're letting him recover so that he's all good for 5 days in a row this week, which he'll be on course. Quick plug for Dicko, he'll be doing the next 5 days, so Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and he'll be selling a package for the 5 meetings for $33, so pretty good value in my opinion. Let's get straight into how the track played at Caulfield on Saturday. So a lot of people were saying it played quite fair, where in fact I disagree completely. There was you'll hear all throughout my reasoning of what happened at Caulfield. There was a patch, you had to be 3 meters off to about 5 to 6 meters off maximum. That was just the prime spot, and the prime spot really was 4 meters off. There was just a fast lane. Majority of the winners came down there. You could win from inside that, but you couldn't win from outside of it, and saving ground around the turn was a massive advantage as well, is what we saw in the horses that won. So I'll disagree with the experts saying that it was a fair track, and I think it was one of the hardest betting days I've seen in a long while at Caulfield. You had to pick the right horse and then pick the right horse for the track as well. Just quickly touching on some great news that there's been some more money allocated to the jumps industry. So I'm a big fan of the jumps. Dicko's not really, but you know, I'll hopefully get to the bull this year. It's just really good to see them putting more money in. I think they've made the Grand Annual, which, you know, it's not the biggest event we've got in Melbourne, but it's supposedly the same amount as the UK one, I believe. So great to see them putting more money into it. It'll be interesting to see if people start actually buying syndicates of horses that have jumped well over in UK and come out here for a new life. So I have a feeling Big Blue, the Godolphin horse, was maybe purchased for that reason, but we'll see. On to what happened during the week as well, just quickly. So Mornington, Geelong, Moonee Valley, Caulfield and Ascot. So there was 5 meetings covered by the Mounting Yard Mail. 158 units out, 161 back, slight profit. Pistol Pete saved the day on Saturday, well and truly up in Ascot. Some brilliant tipping and some really crappy tipping by myself with the help of Dicko down at Caulfield. Once again, you can only do what you can do. Quite a few seconds, and we'll go through why it was such a hard day from the yard. Let's start with Caulfield Race 1. This was won by Ollivander, the Eldon and Zara yard. They had a pretty good day overall. Their horses really set for this. Parade-wise, couldn't knock the horse. It wasn't at the top of, top of the list. But it was, there or thereabouts. Got a beautiful run throughout and got that 4 wide line that we were talking about before. Just perfect run. On top from the yard, we had Russian Romeo. This horse just, did what you couldn't do on the day. Got back, got about 6, 7, 8 wide. Ran on well, but, ran into 6th or 7th. I think it's a horse going forward that you would have a bit of... I think it can win something decent. Ennis Hill, I would not be dropping off. Just against the pattern of the day, really, in my opinion. It did what it needed to do. It wasn't 100% first up. It wasn't the pick of the yard. Wasn't close to pick of the yard. So Blue Diamond is not out of the question. I think especially I have a bit of queries if you look at Anamosa running second here, and then you look at the it was defeated 5 lengths before that. I just want to see a couple of these run around again to really get a feel on the race. Advancing was early favourite, massive drifter out. It went from $4 out to $11. They're going to spell it, so they obviously have a big opinion of it, but it may have just run its races in the trials and not turned up on the day. A horse that I thought paraded really well at odds was Sizzle Me. It's run 5th in the end. Got the right run, so there was no excuses, but it was a really good run at 5th. Outside of that, I thought Fake ran above its potential. And yeah, look, Native Soldier had every chance where it ran. That's kind of it for race 1. I don't think there's much more to take out of it. I think it's really a watch and see going forward race. I wouldn't be backing any of them to win anything special yet. Race 2, another 1200 meter race. And I would just point out these races were really tricky all throughout the day. I think they were very tactical. you have to be in the right position to be able to win it, and this is a prime example right here, race 2 of Troglia, the Philip Stokes mount with Chris Caserta on board. Absolutely brilliant ride. He's just sat it for a suck run throughout, saved ground, got the perfect run through, got into that 3-4 wide line, and most importantly, on the stats it says he's saved 3 to 4 meters, 6 meters more than the horse that's ran second in Don't Blush Baby, and 6 meters more than El Rada. So what he's done is he's won by a length and a half, but he saved 6 meters throughout, got in the best ground, and just given his horse every hope. So it was funny, while she was giving Chris Caserta a bit of a talking about and saying, oh, not that great of a jockey. Every time we do that on the preview show, they seem to come out and ride a double. So just watch for that trend, and when he pots one, just put him in a multi, because they'll pop up and ride some good ones. Out of this race, Don't Blush Baby I thought was a really good run. Obviously, it and El Rada peaked for its run and just couldn't, complete it throughout. Mr. Optimistic, obviously, from the back, really good run. I think it got the right section of the track, so look, it had every shot. And I think Written in Stone, one of those horses which I really like going forward, once again found no luck, so you can't really make a lot of it. I was pretty disappointed in Sacred Sham. It only came out to the yard late. It was fairly disappointing, all things considered. We found Toosby on top from the yard here, actually, and it ran around and it was gone at the turn, so that was pretty disappointing. Other than that, not a lot to add. So on to race 3. This was the highlight of the day for myself and also for Dicko. We both found this in the preview. We said Kazi Farazi 2 weeks ago. We black booked it. We said this is a horse that has run a massive race. It was horrible in the yard, one of the lowest ratings we'd given for the day. And Kazi Farazi presents in the yard as the equal top pick from the yard. So that's before we know which horse it is. You look at the numbers, you go through them, and it paraded brilliantly compared to its previous start. It improved fitness-wise, everything just perfect. And gets the cash for us. Pretty pleasing. Dicko was on RSN on Saturday, and he nominated this as his horse to follow from the yard with the massive improvement. So it was pretty good for him to tip up an $11 winner on air. And he also gave creativity in the last, so he had a flying day. Second was Poet's Corner. I really did not like this horse from the yard at all. It was playing up, it was doing a bit of the buck jumping, it was starting to sweat up a bit, it was doing a lot wrong. It really got marked down on our records. It wasn't all of the other factors it didn't tick as well, and it's run a huge race. This is a horse that I really want to follow. Interestingly, the Racing.com stats are saying it and Monteza saved 6 meters more than Kazi Farazi throughout. So, not sure what to make of that in terms of the runs and everything. Look, I think Kazi Farazi had to run down Prepare to Win, who was just a hellish leader at a stupid pace, and it was a damn good win. I quite liked Monteza from the yard, but it was probably about 4th-5th pick. Holy Freeze presented well, but wasn't the top in the yard. It's run accordingly, had to go in no man's land. It was one of those runs. Folkestone was my lay of the day, so it's ran 5th. It wasn't suited, in my opinion, by pace being on, and the stablemates just ruined all its chances. I'm not sure what the stable were trying to do there with Prepare to Win pushing the speed, but it was really well backed. It was a horse I liked at value. And it's just Kersley's got the speed wrong and the horse hasn't sustained it. Other than that, Grandioso only did a little, just whacked away. Same with Mactier. I think we found the better horses, the top 3 home, and potentially Holy Freeze. I wouldn't be dropping off, but I think the first 3 home are really good, and I think Poet's Corner is actually probably the follow of the card for me to next up. Wherever it goes, I want to be on. Race 4 was one which hurt the bank balance. Vinland. This was declared by many people as the moral of the day. As it came into the yard, it presented really well. and then it deteriorated from there. So as soon as I saw this horse, I said, geez, this horse is just looking super. It was relaxed, it had its head down, it was just doing everything right. Atone did exactly the same thing. They were clearly the two best from the yard. Red Chose was a really good looker in the yard as well, the Weir horse. And look, Angel Lucy didn't do anything wrong, but it was not presenting as if it was as good as Vinland or Atone. What then has happened is obviously we sent out the mail, and in my opinion, Vinland has started to, when the jockey's gone on and started to go out, has started to play up. As we're watching it go around on the TV screen, you see him starting to have to fight Vinland a little bit, just pulling at him, and he's just starting to get really revved up. Look to start to sweat up as well behind the barriers, in my opinion, just that really bad sweat. Got into the barriers, and it's just wanted to jump and run. Melian, look, you can blame him, but if a horse wants to jump and run, it's going to jump and run, and they ran really slow early. So you can blame him for where it was, but I wouldn't. But I'd be blaming him for the ride that was given to the horse in terms of just constantly fighting the horse, trying to slow it up on the pace. You just have to let the horse roll. If it wants to run, it wants to run, and you see how good it is. I think you give it zero chance when you restrain a horse like that and you have its head pulling up. I know some quality judges who will be laying a horse in play on that. So then Atone found absolutely nothing, no excuses. I've got no idea what happened to that horse. Lloyd Kennywell, Angel Lucy. This trainer has bought 6 horses over this season. He's had 3 winners. The 2 at Ballarat were average of sort of $6.50, and he's just had a $31 winner there. I think this is a trainer that you just got to respect. When he brings a horse over, it's just he thinks it can win. Of those other 3, I think one of them placed. So the strike rate's there. You look at him bringing Fedora to WA and getting the chocolates, almost getting it with Fedora over here. He knows when he's got a good horse, and he'll only travel them when they're set for a race, and more often than not he'll win it. Out of this race, I would also say I think Found Out paraded it particularly well, and running third there was a good effort. So I'm not quite sure what to make of the format of the race overall, especially being a 1700 metre race, but we'll follow it forward and see where these horses go to. Race 5. This was another interesting race, and this really hurt for the day. So one of the best paraders of the day was Goizo. This was a clear standout in the yard. I think we ended up backing it. We ended up backing Eureka Street, who was also a standout, and we had a small bet, I think, on Golden Mane, if I'm right. This is top of head, but I'm pretty sure that's the way we played it with the Mounting Yard Mail. On my own bets, Mrs. Gardenia was one of my bets of the day, and it presented average at very best. It's then settled back last and been given no hope from the run based on the pattern of the day. You'd done your money 200 metres in. It was just one of those runs where you just know, I can't win. This is actually a race that I really think we can follow forward for a 1700 metre race. The time was sound. What you've had happen is you've had Goizo loom up, look the winner, and then just it's had to cover an extra metre or 2 than Shoreham, I think. Got the stats here. Yeah, just had to cover some more ground. And I think Shoreham was slightly in the better ground going through the final 200 metres as well, with Goizo laying out into that more 6-7 metre range, which was just the bad ground. And that's kind of cost the horse the race. It was a $10 winner. That would have had completely different meaning for my weekend, to be quite honest. Disappointing that it happened, but Shoreham ran really well its previous start. I said on the preview show I wouldn't be completely discounting it. This is one of those races where it could easily pop up and wow, what a win. I couldn't see it happening, but it did. Shenandoah with 52 kilos was obviously, it saved a lot of ground on the winners, but it was a really good run based on the speed that was on out front. Portion Control paraded near top in everything apart from, I think it was fat. So I'd be following that horse forward definitely on that run. And I thought Golden Mane presented better than it ever has before. So it just got too far back in no man's land. And I think there are easier races for a couple of these horses going forward, and they can really run well. Outside of that, there was, Mrs. Gardini was a massive disappointment. On to race 6, we went over the 24-20, and this was another race and another one that hurt from the mounting yard. So we found Bint El Bedu on top from My Psychiatrist. They've run 2nd and 3rd to Etta James. And what do you know? Bint El Bedu has covered 16 more metres than Etta James in the run, and My Psychiatrist has covered 10 more metres. Etta James has simply had the most economical run. It was a beautiful ride by Meach. One of the very few that won on the rail that day, so I'd probably give it a bit more emphasis that it was a good win. But I think, the inside was fine, but you did want to be in that 3-4 out range. Those were the clear eye catchers. Path Easier from the jump was never winning that far back. Not sure what they were trying to do from that barrier. You should have been further forward. And Jimmy Bag was doing what Jimmy Bag does, running a nice race but not winning. Could be going to if there's a country meeting with a country cup soon, I wouldn't be discounting Jimmy Bag now. I think the horse is near its top, and we could find it from the yard if we're out there at one of those country meetings. So just reiterate, I think Etta James is a nice horse. I don't think it's got super claims beyond this BM78. It'll probably go up to BM90 next start and maybe run well, potentially listed grade low weight. But I think Bint El Bedu, on what it did, same with My Psychiatrist, I think they're the two to follow. On to race 7, 1440. Run of the day, potentially Aussie's Choice. They've run fast, they've run times. This horse has just kept whacking away, and even ran the best final 200, I believe, of the day of the race. So it just kept on finding and finding. Benny Thompson couldn't have ridden it better. Rode it, just superbly. Got it out when he needed to. Got it in the right lanes. Thelberg is a horse that I think didn't parade well at all. It was buck jumping, showing lots of really bad signs. Chrissy's given it a great ride. I think next start, as long as they lead on this, I definitely want to be on. I think they need to lead, they need to use the low weight, and they just need to run them into the ground. And I think they'll find an easier race than this, and they'll just absolutely dominate it. And at anything of $3 and above, I'll be very much backing up on it. Onerous was one that I found from the yard as my second pick. So it presented really, really well near its peak. It's run 3rd. The one we found on top was Sadaka, where it was gone at the turn, so I'm not sure what was wrong there, but it was at its complete top. Urban Ruler was okay, but this is a horse that just keeps running poor races. I don't think it's come up well this prep. It's just not showing enough, and I'd be taking on in the future. I wouldn't be jumping off Dan Zephyr for its last run, and I think Orient Line, I'm not sure what it needs, but it flashed home to run a beaten 4 lengths 5th from out the back again. It's just a horse that can run well late, but it just doesn't win races. Aussie's Choice, where do they go with this now? Not too sure, but it's very much reminds me of a few of other Darren Weir's horses that can just lead or just sit on the lead and just grind them down with really brutal tempos and not be passed. I think it can be trusted going forward again. Race 8. This is a race I want to say I got wrong on my preview on my website. Not because I tipped Overland. So first of all, I think Overland was ridden upside down to try and ride how the day was really running, and I think that was fine to experiment with that. It didn't work. The horse needs to be ridden cold, and it just didn't run a race. I'm more just annoyed at myself that I probably let a few people talking about Crystal Dreamer's chances down get to me. This is a horse that its peak performance in the past had been, 3rd, 4th up. Its peak performance was over 1,100 metres when people were questioning that, and its peak performances were on good tracks, and it was at Caulfield. So if they were going to run along fast times, it's a horse that can still sit 3 or 4 wide and win it. And what happened for the day was it actually sat in the prime position, 3-4 wide, in that lane that was suited. So when you came to it and you got nearly $4 on the day, it was a damn good bet, especially with Steph Thorne on claiming 3 kilos. Just gave it a beautiful ride, didn't panic, didn't try and overexert the horse, and got it home beautifully. Yeah, a bit angry at myself and only savouring it in the Mounting Yard Mail. Oberland and Thermal Current presented as well as it, and we simply savoured it instead of backing it based on the map. It was going to sit 4 or 5 wide and have to be damn good, and it was. Tanuki's run a blinder, saved a lot of ground as expected. I think it saved like 7 or 8 meters more than everything else in this race. Sorry, just pulling this up. Yeah, saved 6 or 7 meters. Marlano Blanc was absolutely truckloaded into about $4.20, so it was second favourite at the jump. It's flashed home, best final 200 meters, but once again, you know, too far back, didn't come in time. Glenrowan Prince was one that paraded really well. It's led them around in the brutal tempo and only lost by 2 lengths. That's a horse I can see stepping back in class from here and really running well. Other than that, I was disappointed in Got the Goss, but it may just need, you know, a softer track to find its best. And yeah, Sovereign Duke wasn't a bad run either from On Speed, but Glengowan Prince was the better run of those two. Race 9, last race of the day. Another race where we've zigged when we should zag. I don't think we got this wrong. It's just the unlucky factor of what happens. So Club Tropicana probably paraded as the best horse of the day. Everything was perfect, ready to go. This is a horse that normally plays up in the yard and get really fired. It was perfect. It's got out to the barriers. Barrier 1 loaded first. They've taken forever to put him in, and then it's gone off in the barriers about 10 seconds before they're going to let him go. So this horse then hurts itself or does whatever. They vet it, they pass it, it's never going to win. But, you know, then Craig doesn't bustle it out to get it a position from barrier 1 and still sits basically last with it and gives it zero hope. I mean, the ride was questionable at very best based on the pattern of the day. Could have easily just spent some early and sat, you know, midfield and ride for luck, which is where a lot of the runners have been coming from the rail. Essence of Terror, same thing. Barrier 13, taken back to last, nicked back, never a chance. It was second best from the yard, and then Creativity was third best, and we savoured it instead of backing it. It's got a nice run throughout, got in the right section of the track, and just, you know, held them off the final 200. Taikioto obviously protested, absolutely flashed home, massive run. Unlucky for the connections. Mamselle Test does what Mamselle Test does. I thought Bruegel Reward was in the wrong spot of the track coming home and has done a really fine job to finish 4th. That's a horse I want to follow forward. I think it's got good wins in it still. Outside of that, not really much to say on the track there. Got a few questions that I put out. So I put out to Twitter just asking a few for myself. So here we go, viewer questions. Off topic, but I suppose it's a type of gambling. Have you guys got into Bitcoin? And also, what do you think of F Troops win at Doomben? $6 in the Magic Millions looks juicy. First of all, me and a friend, Aaron, looked at getting to Bitcoin when it was about, I want to say $600-700. We looked into it. It was pretty damn hard to go find a vendor and everything like that, and we ended up not investing. Stupid decision. Now, but you know, could see the potential of Bitcoin in short back then. That was 2013 because I wrote an article about it for another publication I do, saying that the bubble's not going to burst and it's a solid investment going forward if you want to take the risk, because it'll keep bouncing around, but it was never going to burst, especially with what you're buying with it online. Did I see it going up to $20,000? Not in your wildest dreams. I would have been selling out at, you know, 3,000 type of thing maximum if I'd got on to 600. So I wouldn't still be holding all my Bitcoin at this moment. F Troop, damn good win. Looks the real deal. $6. Just banker it in a couple of multis. I think you can do worse than that horse going forward. Yeah. Rob, best looking horse on the weekend. Probably Club Tropicana or Guizo. They both presented perfectly. I want to follow them both for the next starts. Thomas Aitken, Urban Ruler, proving costly for some punters. Very much so. I'm not sure what to make of it. One of those yards where you realistically need to see the horse doing something completely different in the yard or something. It needs to tell us it's ready to go, I think. If it braids absolutely on top next start, get on. Like if Dicko has that on top from the yard and says this is a clear standout, it's loving life, it looks ready to go, I think that's when we want to be on, and we'll probably get $8. Also from Thomas, also after watching Chris Caserta in Adelaide the last month or two and seeing him get the double at Caulfield, a rider to follow. I'm not a great fan personally. I think he's doing enough right. He's got a future, is what I would say. There are definitely worse riders, but there are also probably better apprentices out there. But there are few that have that claim. So I think he can ride well from inside barriers, riding for luck, and find you that luck, definitely. McBain has asked about Magic Millions futures. Honestly, I haven't looked too much into these yet. Once again, I'd say F Troop. Other than that, not really that interested at the moment. Daniel, do a dogs and trot show while Dicko's away. Well, we haven't got in the mention of Lazarus, and I actually haven't even put any Carnus or anything behind me today, unfortunately. But it was good to see Melton was on tonight, so may, after filming this, just have a little dabble there in play. But other than that, no, we'll stick to what we do best at the moment. Tony Two Up. I know there have been a few mentions, but do you have stats through on how many 1600 metre plus races Linda Meach has managed to win in the last 6 weeks? Geez, Linda Meach, tell you what, I'll get that searching while I go through a few other things, but actually it's pretty easy. I've got it here. So this isn't the past few weeks, but this is last 12 months. She has ridden 2,400 metres plus. She's had 3 wins from 12 starts, so that's 25% strike rate. 2,400 metres, 8 wins from 48, 17% strike rate. And then she's running at about 13% on the 1,500 to 2,000, which is actually her worst winning rate. But realistically, Linda's flying at the moment. You look at her December, in November stats, November 13 rides, 13 wins from 55 rides for a 24% strike rate, and 9 wins from 40 rides in December for a 23% strike rate and 101% ROI thanks to like a carousel, I would imagine. Linda just keeps on riding. You can't discount her on anything that she rides, to be quite honest. I'd have her as one of the top jockeys in the land at the moment, and she should be respected as much. And it'd be good to see the big guys respect her as much and give her the Group 1 rides that she deserves. Other than that, as I said, Dicko, 5 meetings this week for $33, starting Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Haven't decided Friday yet. Maybe Yarra Valley, maybe Cranbourne. We'll decide based on the field sizes and what looks a better card for Mounting Yard. Looking forward to the week, and yeah, see you on Thursday for the preview show. Thank you very much. Bye.